So this week on CMA, we've stumbled upon one of my favorite segments, and that is Audiophiles, where it's all about the quest for supreme sound quality. Our feature brand today has been at this quest since the get-go, and it's come around in different renderings and generations, and we've landed now on the latest F#1 status from Alpine, which has also trickled down great technology to a recently introduced status line. We've got product expert Eric Brooks in the studio, and we're going to break it down why Alpine continues to lead the charge in the audiophile category. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Alpine, and it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and today we're talking about Alpine. Yes, the brand that not only does source units, but has dedicated entire generations of engineers into trying to perfect that audiophile-grade sound. We've seen different generations of it through the years through F#1 status, and recently their most recent version is absolutely over the top. Today, I'm so excited to get geeky with you guys because this is what it's all about right here. Now, Eric, we're happy to have you as per usual. What do you think we're going to be covering today so that we don't go too far into the woods?
Yeah, Ben, so we're going to cover a few really cool technical things about Alpine F#1 status and things that make it special. But really, we're also going to talk about how it trickles down into the Alpine status line, which many, many more people can aspire to own because of its competitive price point and nature.
All right, Eric, I'm ready to get into it with you. But first, an opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind you dealers out there why you should love it. And when we come back, time to get nerdy with Eric Brooks from Alpine.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability.
People love it.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for sticking with us. Now, Eric, let's kind of set the record straight. F#1 status is, in fact, the go-to, top-of-the-line, pinnacle, apex product that Alpine engineers. And literally, this thing has stuff that I don't even see the verbiage anywhere else. So I want to get into that with you. But first, try to explain to us what the whole point of F#1 status is to begin with.
Yeah, Ben, Alpine F#1 status is really Alpine's racing program, right? So car manufacturers have F1 racing that they participate in, and they put all of their engineering prowess into these vehicles to be the best and fastest and just most high-tech in the world. And then the things that they find through that engineering, some of it makes its way into the everyday cars that we drive, right? And it kind of positions them as the leader in performance with those F1 cars. Well, Alpine F#1 status got its name because of that philosophy, right? So it is our racing program. There's a no holds barred approach to the engineering of these products. Basically, no expense spared. You know, we're going to create the best that we possibly can, and then take those technologies and trickle them down into the rest of the product line, which is really, really important. And it gives a great value to consumers that are looking for great performance in their audio gear.
Eric, as a race fan myself, I love the analogy you use there because that is exactly what it's about, is pushing the envelope as to where you can bring the technology. And why this is important, and I'm bringing it up, is because there's been different generations of F#1 status. And really, each one of those generations encompassed the latest technology in that time. And today, with the digital signals and the ultra-wide bandwidth and all these things that we're dealing with, F#1 status has put it all together into truly an ultimate system. Okay, let's get geeky. There's a couple key features and technologies that F1 status is touting. And I wanted to break it down for you guys and get Eric to kind of explain some of these technologies so that you can understand just what level of commitment, engineering, and ingenuity that Alpine has put into these products. Let's start with one that truly intrigues me. It's called the Ducalon Master Clock. I'm saying it the simple way. I'm going to let Eric kind of break out what that means and why is it so important to the F1 status ecosystem.
Yeah, Ben, this thing is really cool to talk about, this Ducalon Master Clock, right? It's actually a crystal oscillating clock. And what this whole thing does, it's the heart of the system. Everything is connected, whether it's the media player, the head unit, the processor, is all connected through digital connection, right? So it's ones and zeros. And what happens is that clock times all of the information, right? And it does it very, very precisely. In fact, it's so precise that there are home products that you can get with a Ducalon crystal oscillating clock that cost upwards of $8,000, right? So very, very expensive technology that we put into this processor that times the entire system. Now, how we take it another level is in a home, you have a controlled environment, right? You have air conditioning, everything's pretty much the same temperature and humidity all the year round. Well, in a vehicle, there's a wide shift in humidity and temperature and all those things. So this Ducalon master clock or oscillating clock is housed within a temperature controlled oven, right? It's a copper chassis and it's temperature controlled. So basically what it does, it maintains a steady temperature at all times of 130 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So this thing is always the same temperature, which means there's no variance in performance because of external temperatures or humidities or things like that. So very, very important. But the thing that it does is it eliminates digital distortion like jitters. So that's the benefit of it. And it really takes this special technology to make it happen the best that it can.
Eric, the very fact that you can talk about a master clock with crystals involved and a temperature controlled oven. We're talking car audio, man. This is absolutely mind-blowing stuff. In fact, this entire list of stuff that we're talking about with F1 status is a little bit mind-blowing, but you guys want it, so we're going to be talking about it. We talked about how the master clock controls the timing of everything because, of course, we're talking ones and zeros. But within the components, you've heard the saying, a system is only as strong as its weakest link. Well, even at the type of data that this system is processing and transferring within each component requires a certain type of connectivity. Eric, please expand on how F1 status sends signal between components.
Yeah, Ben, it is really special how it does it. And the first thing to note is Alpine F1 status is the highest, fastest, highest resolution product out there. 384 kilohertz, 32-bit, right? So it is an extreme amount of information that's being transferred from one device to the next on the digital side, right? So, people talk about optical, connections, fiber optic, all this stuff, which is great. It's wide bandwidth. It handles a lot of data, all that good stuff, but it's not fast enough to handle the information that's passed between the different components of Alpine F1 status, right? So this custom A2B connectivity is a digital connection that goes between each device in the chain on the digital side. And it is the only connectivity that is fast enough to handle this resolution and bandwidth. So it's very expensive. It's very performance based. And it's the only thing that allows us to transfer the potential of this resolution within one component to the next without losing signal.
Now, if you're an audiophile enthusiast tuning in like I am, then you know that one of the enemies that we're always trying to combat is noise. Well, Alpine has gone to great lengths to eliminate said noise so that we can get what we want out of the sound, which is the music. Eric, what can you tell us about the efforts that have been put into place to eliminate noise?
Great point, Ben. And there are a ton of things that go into these electronics to try to keep the noise floor very low. These devices operate at a signal to noise ratio of about 115 dB, which means they are very, very, very quiet, right? Some of the ways that we get there are through things like copper plated chassis. All the Alpine F1 status products have copper plated chassis, which reject noise. They all have black painted circuit boards that are actually 4 and sometimes 6 layers, right? So they can control the light that's being reflected within the board. It's very, very dark, which, digital, it can be susceptible to picking up noise that way. So there are just things that you would think, oh, that's not a big deal, but everything adds up to making it its best and making it as quiet as it can be. Also, true balanced XLR connectors are in this. So basically what it does is it turns information in and out of phase to cancel out any noise that might be injected into the signal path, right? So there are a lot of things that we do within these amplifiers, the processor, the head unit, to try to keep them as quiet as we can so you can enjoy more of your music.
Now, we must remember that the F1 status is truly a complete system in itself and is only available as a complete system. Having said that, we've spent some time talking about the signal, amplification, so on, but there's also some seriously cool technology when it comes to the drivers, the speakers as well. Eric, why don't you speak a little bit about some of the technologies, maybe in the cone material, for example?
Yes, absolutely. The cone material is very special, and it's shared between the tweeters, the mid-range, the mid-bass drivers, and the subwoofer. They all have the same cone material, which is a woven glass fiber cone. It's very lightweight and rigid. And the reason they're the same between each driver is so that the transition from one driver to the next can be as smooth as smooth as it can, right? It can have the same basically acoustic imprint, right, on the sound. So it's very, very similar in and distinct. Some other cool things about the speakers themselves, they have a very unique surround called a double gathered surround. It creates a very controlled motion in linear response, right? So this thing keeps that voice coil moving perfectly in and out of the gap, right? So there's no distortion there, and it keeps tight range on the cone. So the cone doesn't flex, right? It's a lightweight, rigid cone with great control through the spider and through this surround, the double gathered surround. All of the tooling, when you see the Alpine F1 speaker tooling, they're very, very tight tolerances. Everything is held to a very high standard in tooling. So there's very distinct sound and very accurate reproduction of sound from these speakers. Not to mention they just look cool, right? So this is a complete set, like you said. There's a 3-way component set and a subwoofer. You can also add an additional subwoofer if you choose. So that's the speakers in the line.
Of course, we have to talk about the amplification, which is, of course, special again because it's F1 status. But there are actually 2 amplifiers within the system. Eric, what is the specific reason behind the design and the output of these amplifiers?
Great question, Ben, like always. So the amplifiers are very, very special. Again, copper-plated chassis, black painted circuit boards, all these things that keep them very low noise, but they connect to our DSP through these XLR connectors, right? So again, a true balanced XLR connection from the processor to the amplifier. The system comes with 2 4-channel amps, right? So if you do the math, there's a 3-way component, so that's 6 speakers, and 1 sub, so that's a 7th speaker. There's an open channel. So if you choose to add a second subwoofer, you can do that. The subwoofers are very, very efficient. So when you hook them up to these channels of this amplifier, they get great output, and it really does sound wonderful. They are great sounding amps, extremely wide bandwidth from 10 hertz out to almost 200 kilohertz. Again, very, very high signal to noise ratio. So they are delivering really the audiophile's dream of sound performance in a vehicle.
Well, to wrap up F1 status, it truly is in its own class. And kudos to Alpine for continuing this program and pushing that envelope of technology and the quest for absolute audio excellence in a car environment. Now, you mentioned, Eric, that, that racing program, right? This technology trickles down into more affordable and accessible components that audiophile enthusiasts can get their hands on and can listen to. And that is with the introduction of the status line. Now, we've seen you come on and talk about it when it first came out. It is undeniable, the trickle-down technology, but more so the fit and finish. I want to spend some time talking about the different components of status. Let's start first with what I feel is one of the most game-changing units of the entire collection. And let's start talking about the DSP amplifier.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. So the DSP amplifier is a great way to have a killer sounding system in your vehicle, right? So taking from Alpine F1 status, first off, the cosmetic, it looks like it belongs in the family, right? So that's it has a very distinct look. The bandwidth on this, again, upwards of 100 kilohertz in bandwidth, so from 10K up to 100K in bandwidth, which is extremely wide. It has better than standard high resolution playback at 192 24-bit. So going above and beyond standard high resolution capability in this DSP processor. Again, copper plated chassis, black painted circuit boards, all these things that give us signal to noise ratio of about 110 to 112 dB out of this. So for a piece of digital electronics to have that type of signal to noise ratio is pretty incredible. And then it can be used to either start a system and add on amplifiers to it, or use it as a full system amplifier and DSP all in one, right? So it has 12 channels of amplifier that are staggered power. So you can run a full system, mid basses, mid range, tweeters, all those things right out of the DSP itself, or use the preamp outputs to run additional amps in the system. So it's very flexible and it's very capable in producing audiophile grade sound.
Now, as mentioned, Status truly is a complete lineup. And not only is there a staggered multi-channel DSP integrated amp, as Eric has just described, but there are other amplifiers that can complement your system. Eric, tell us about the other amplifiers, non-DSP, within Status.
Sure, Ben. So there are actually three amplifiers in the Status line. There's a 4-channel, a 5-channel, and a mono amp. So I actually have one here. I'll hold it up. This is the mono, and they all look the same, and they all look very similar to Alpine F1 Status amplifiers, right? So very, very nice. This front cover comes off to get to all the controls there. But again, copper plated chassis, black painted circuit boards, very high signal to noise ratio, very wide bandwidth, 10 hertz out to close to 100K in bandwidth. So very, very great acoustic playback, very quiet operation. They look really, really cool, and they give us great sound in our vehicle.
All right, moving on to the next piece in the puzzle, the speaker lineup. Now, this is a very complete offering when it comes to speakers, different sizes, three-way, two-way, coaxials. Eric, break down for us, A, the selection, but B, some of the key technologies that have come down from the F1 status and have now found its place in status regular speakers.
Yeah, Ben. So number one, when you look at Alpine F1 status speakers, and then you look at Alpine status speakers, they're really hard to tell apart. They use the same cone material, this very lightweight, rigid carbon fiber composite cone. They have that same very unique double gathered surround for great control over the motor of the speaker moving in and out. The tooling, the actual baskets of the speakers look very similar to Alpine F1 status. Right. So it gives us a great value and shows that definitive trickle down from Alpine F1 status to Alpine status. Now, there are a few different sizes and solutions available from Alpine status speakers. First off, we have a 3-way component set, 6.5 inch, 3-inch, and tweeter. And then we have a 6.5 2-way component, 6.5 and tweeter. And then we have a coax, 6.5 coax available. Now, something unique and something different about this is in our 3-way and in our 2-way, we have actually two different models. We have a custom fit model, which comes with a high frequency driver that is 1.75 inches. So you can see it here. Really, really cool looking piece. It has a tuned enclosure on the back, and it really is rich, right? And it gives us great transition from the mid-range on up into the tweeter, the higher frequency range. So that's our custom fit tweeter. And then we have our OEM fitment is what we call it. So we have those same components, the 3-ways and the 6.5 2-way components that can have a OEM fitment high frequency driver, which is right here, right? So integrated speaker phase plug, excuse me. It has that same woven fiberglass composite material for the cone, and it has a smaller housing that you can remove simply by pushing through the tweeter, and then you have this extremely small piece that can go in many, many OEM fitment applications, right? So really, really great sound, really, really good fitment options for this. So just keep that in mind when you're looking into the Status line of speakers, that there are two different solutions. So whatever type of install you're doing, you may need one over the other.
One extra question I have for you, Eric, when it comes to these speakers, obviously, as you've described, there are some cool OEM integration features built in to the design. Now, would you recommend these to be powered off factory sound, or are these really meant to be driven hard with much more power?
That's a really good question, right? So I would definitely recommend having external amplification versus a head unit or an aftermarket head unit power. I would certainly recommend, based on the power handling of the speakers themselves, using an external amplifier. And a great way to power these is using our DSP amplifier and running them active out of our DSP amplifier. That's a great match for these, and we have actually multiple demo vehicles riding around with that configuration in them. So it does sound great, and it gives you the ability to really tune these speakers and make them sound fantastic.
All right. Now, last but not least is probably one of the pieces that I am most impressed with because it is so unique within the industry as a media player. Notice I didn't say head unit. No, it's not really a head unit, or is it? We'll let you decide. But Eric, please walk us through the very unique media player within the Status catalog.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Our Status media player is a fantastic way to get better than high resolution into your car audio system. And there's a lot of debate whether it's a head unit or a media player. So this thing doesn't have its own source. There's no tuner. So we're calling it a media player. And it's a great way to either adapt into an OEM system, and it has high level inputs. You can tie those in. It has a 4-channel high resolution amplifier built in, so you can actually run speakers right off of this thing. It has multiple USB inputs. It has 3 USB inputs, actually. It has Bluetooth, so you can stream high res. If you have an LDAC on an Android, you can stream high res directly to it over Bluetooth. And you can do a wired connection over USB to your portable device and get high res directly from your portable device into this unit, right? So it's a great way to have digital sources piped into your great audio system and have better than standard high resolution. And when I say that, I'm talking about 192 24-bit with a very wide bandwidth capabilities. So yeah, it is a great device. It has a controller piece, right? That's a little smaller than the width of a single DIN head unit. And then it has a hideaway black box that makes easy installation, right? So that you can hide that away and do all your inputs and outputs from there. And what's really cool about this is when you use it with our DSP amplifier, some of the functionality, actually all of the functionality of the DSP amplifier controller that you can buy separately is available and will work out of the controller for our media player, right? So if you have this plugged in, you can actually get into all the menus and controls of the DSP, change your presets, change a lot of things about the DSP right from the controller of our media player. So it is a very cool piece, and it's really become quite the hot item among audiophiles in the industry.
Eric, let me comment on that last statement, and I believe I know why it's become such a hot item. Not only is it a wicked cool piece with the hideaway brain, but the interface is awesome. It's not just a single knob. There is a full display. It looks great. It works well. But more so than that, it is an awesome piece for those using their factory head unit. So many of today platforms don't allow for an aftermarket source unit to be replaced. This is an amazing way to upgrade that system to be able to have things like the LDAC, the high-res Bluetooth, 3 extra USBs, and so on and so forth. And you're right, you beat me to it. If you add the power of the Status amplifier, DSP amplifier, to the entire system, then you've just elevated that audio experience and interaction to another level. So I don't know if you agree with me, Eric, but I think as a standalone unit, I'm very, very happy that Alpine decided to offer this piece, not in the kit, but for anybody to purchase as a single unit.
Yeah, Ben, you make some really great points. And honestly, the way that you're talking about this piece is really what we've heard from people around the industry and actually consumers that have used it too. folks that want to have great sound, integrate in with their OEM head unit, but be able to get high res sources into the car and have it sound really cool and look really cool. This is a great way to do it. So yeah, I agree 100%, Ben.
Well, Eric, we've taken the time. We've talked about F1 status, all the great technology that trickled down into the new status line. What do you have to say about the future of this line? Because I tell you, from where I'm sitting, this looks like it's got legs. It's got all the great features. It's got awesome looks and performance to boot. Never mind the fitment opportunities and different configurations. So what can you tell us about the future of Alpine status?
Yeah, Ben, Alpine Status is a really great line. It's kind of future-proof with its ability for high res and the wide bandwidth. But I'll tell you, our product team is always looking for opportunities and ways to give solutions to our customers, Alpine fans, and guys that want great sound in their vehicle. So there may be some opportunities coming up that you might see something new from Alpine Status coming along. So dealers, customers, make sure you keep your eyes and ears out for anything new that you might hear about here in the coming months.
And there you have it, guys. I want to give a shout out to my guest today, Eric Brooks from Alpine, for coming in and talking to us all geeky-like about status F1 as well as status. I think we got the goods and we really dove into some of the technologies. Now, if you're interested to find out more information on any of the products or technologies for that matter covered on today's show, I do encourage you to head over to their website, alpine-usa.com. Now, in my closing comments, I gotta give props where props are due. What other brand in the industry are putting resources, engineering, and money towards pushing the envelope with technology and keeping up with what is available in today's market, optimizing it for what we love most, which is car audio? An oven for a crystal clock that keeps timing? Come on, there's nobody doing stuff like this. And this deserves respect. I don't care what brand you like, whether what country it's from, you have to give it up for a brand that even today puts in the resources to find a pursuit of technology to move that needle forward and give us, the car audio enthusiasts, great sound. And the fact that it has that trickle-down effect into more accessible products such as the Status line, which, by the way, looks sexy, looks amazing, and sounds great. This is something that is duly noted. I appreciate it, and I know many of you do as well. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.